Towcester is a town of historical significance, particularly during the Roman times. Known as Lactodorum, it was a garrison town on the Watling Street, a street that's played a major role in its history ever since. During an excavation as part of a regeneration project for Moat Lane, an intriguing discovery was found, increasing our understanding of Towcester during this time. When digging beneath the surface of Moat Lane, the remains of a small building was unearthed, leading to several further digs across the site and some very interesting Roman findings, not least the discovery of a surprisingly well-preserved Roman cellar wall. Simon Carlisle of Cotswold Archaeology explains.
Well, we started back in 2012, which comprised a number of trial trenches around the Moat Lane Regeneration area, and in a number of the trenches we found some good Roman remains. So based on that we carried out further excavations this year in 2013. The walls turned up during the evaluation. We dug a small test pit, it's only 2 metres square, and just purely by luck we came down top of the wall. It's very well preserved. It was underneath the car park. So we enlarged the area in 2013 to see what the wall belonged to, and it's basically part of a cellar. It's very well constructed. It's got sort of an outer wall, then there's a layer of clay, and then an inner wall. And initially we thought it could have been to keep water in, but then as we excavated down we found complete Roman vessels stacked around the edge of the room. When we excavated the cellar, it had been backfilled with all sorts of rubble and material. But at the bottom there was a sort of silty material, and in that we had a number of complete Roman vessels stacked around the edge of the wall. So that will give us an accurate date to when it was in use. And we found prior to the building of the cellar, there were other features that it cut. There's some strange slots. There's two on one side and one on the other. And when we first started excavating, we thought maybe they were to hold timber beams to sort of partition the cellar up. But it soon became clear that they weren't actually aligned. They're actually all offset. So it's a bit of a mystery to what they were for. The pottery we found in the cellar, there's a number of complete vessels, which is quite a nice find, from the Roman period. And they date on the whole to sort of 2nd, 3rd century. They would have been sort of locally produced. And we've had some saming as well. Sort of nice figured saming with the sort of pictures on the side. So yeah, I mean the bulk of the material we're finding, we found, is sort of 2nd, 3rd century into the 4th. Quality of the build suggested it was possibly sort of local government building rather than sort of private development. But then later on, it seems the building was changed use, and an annex was built on the back. It may have been for some sort of possibly industrial purpose. We found evidence for burning, like a sort of stoke hole. It may have had some other function. It probably dates to around sort of mid-2nd century. It's a good quality building. There were suggestions that we should sort of move the building, put it somewhere else for display, but in a sense that would totally destroy its archaeological integrity. You may as well just build a new one out of new stone. So to preserve it in situ seemed like the best option, because it would preserve it for the future beneath the modern building. The modern building will have no impact on the Roman remains. It's been fully recorded, it's been photographed, drawn, there's records for every sort of single context within the building. So basically what we're going to do, we're going to backfill it. We're backfilling it with sand to protect the stonework. We're doing it now before the frost starts, because once the frost gets in it will start to make the stone deteriorate. From an archaeological point of view, it's actually a very exciting discovery. Roman buildings aren't particularly common, especially not that sort of quality. And I think, particularly with Towcester, I think so little's known about the interior of Roman Towcester that to actually find part of a street and a building in such good state of preservation, it's been excellent. It gives a real good insight to the layout of this part of the Roman town. And then we found evidence for the Roman wall, which is quite exciting because that's been a bit of a mystery, exactly the course of the wall. The stones were taken away, and we found evidence of this in the excavation behind me. Where the part of rubble is, that's roughly along the alignment of the Roman wall, and underneath we found the robber trench for the wall. It was about 3 metres wide, about 1 metre deep. There was nothing left of the wall, there's hardly any stone left, just loose bits of loose rubble and backfill. But that was the line of the actual wall. My name's Simon Carlisle from Cotswold Archaeology, and I was the project manager on the project here at Moat Lane. The bulk of what we found dated to the Roman period. We found evidence for the early Roman settlement, largely comprising sort of the remains of possible small timber buildings, little paddocks and the like. And then we found evidence for the Roman wall, which is quite exciting because that's been a bit of a mystery, exactly the course of the wall. The stones were taken away, and we found evidence of this in the excavation behind me. Where the part of rubble is, that's roughly along the alignment of the Roman wall, and underneath we found the robber trench for the wall. It was about 3 metres wide, about 1 metre deep. There was nothing left of the wall, there's hardly any stone left, just loose bits of loose rubble and backfill. But that was the line of the actual wall. It's nice to have pinned it down, because over the years people have speculated to where the wall actually went. There's been numerous trial trenches dug around this area. Some people thought it went underneath the mound, some people think it was over towards the mill leat, but we've always certainly proved now that it runs just this side of the mill leat, between the mound and the mill leat, and it carries on down into the past the old mill, and then down into the cemetery. And we also found a Roman building, a Roman burial behind the Plough Inn. We also found some medieval evidence as well. We had a large ditch which may be part of the outer bailey for the mound, which dates again to the Norman period. And that sort of ran along roughly on the line of Chantry Road. There were suggestions that we should sort of move the building, put it somewhere else for display, but in a sense that would totally destroy its archaeological integrity. You may as well build a new one out of new stone. So to preserve it in situ seemed like the best option, because it will preserve it for the future beneath the modern building. The modern building will have no impact on the Roman remains. Basically what we're going to do, we're going to backfill it. We're backfilling it with sand to protect the stonework. We're doing it now before the frost starts, because once the frost gets in, it will start to make the stone deteriorate, and that will help protect it. And we'll put like a geotextile material over the top, again as a sort of barrier to protect it. And then it'll just be backfilled. Then the building design will be done in such a way that there won't be any impact on the building. My understanding is that there'll be a sort of a concrete beam supporting a partition wall over the building, so it'll be left totally intact. Then in future generations, if need be, it could be re-excavated and it's still there. Because many of the Roman buildings that have been discovered in Towcester back in sort of the 50s and 60s, they haven't survived. So this is the only major piece of Roman architecture surviving within the walls of Roman Towcester. It's been fully recorded, it's been photographed, drawn, there's records for every sort of single context within the building. So we've got a good paper record and documentary record of how the thing was constructed and what was there. From an archaeological point of view, it's actually a very exciting discovery. I mean, Roman buildings aren't particularly common, especially not that sort of quality. And I think, particularly with Towcester, I think so little's known about the interior of Roman Towcester that to actually find part of a street and a building in such good state of preservation, it's been excellent. It gives a real good insight to the layout of this part of the Roman town. There's a major stopping off point, and in the early period there may have been a fort here following the Roman invasion in the mid-1st century. I mean, no evidence to be found for the Roman fort so far, though they have found sort of Roman military bits of armour, and not armour, but sort of badges and bits and pieces, the surrounding area dating to the 1st century. So there's a good chance that there was a Roman fort in this area. And in character, it's probably not dissimilar to sort of the Wild West towns of America. Lots of timber buildings straggling along the road, that sort of thing. But then the fort eventually would have been closed down. The town remained, and being on a sort of important location, it's all gradually developed into sort of a local town for this area. And there's probably always a certain military presence being on a major road heading up north. And it would have just been a sort of local market town as well, sort of attracting local trade, sort of local market for bringing animals into town, that sort of thing, and other goods. There's no evidence within the fill of these slots that they held any wooden posts or anything. There's no post hole at the base of them, so we don't really know what they're for.